The National Press and Publication Administration probably never imagined that their draft for public comments could instantly crash the Hong Kong stock market, wiping out 500 billion yuan in market value in a single day and nearly derailing the rebound of the A-share market. Tencent's stock price plunged 14% instantly, and NetEase plummeted by 30%. Even prominent figures like media personality Hu Shijin and investor Gay Weidong criticized it. So, what exactly happened? Today at noon, the gaming industry faced unprecedented regulatory measures, from distribution to recharging, even to the mechanisms of in-game currencies, which can be called a disaster for the gaming industry.
This lady bought Tencent stocks only to encounter a drastic fall, nearly driving her to despair.
I really don't want to take care of this anymore. Regulation yesterday, taxation today. Is it all targeting me? I'm really struggling. Will my money ever come back?
On December 22nd, the Chinese government suddenly released a draft seeking public opinions on strict control of online games. The deadline for feedback was set for January 22, 2024. Notably, Article 17 of the draft, titled Prohibition of Mandatory Combat, states that online game publishers and operators must not set mandatory combat scenarios in games. Article 18, limiting excessive use and high expenditure in games, mandates that games should not offer rewards like daily logins, first-time top-ups, or continuous recharge rewards. All online games must set a recharge limit for users and publicly display these in their service rules, providing pop-up warnings for irrational consumer spending. This news quickly stirred the gaming stock market. On the same day, shares of gaming companies on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange and the Shenzhen Stock Exchange plummeted. NetEase was down 24.6%, with a market value loss of 128 billion Hong Kong dollars. Tencent Holdings fell 12.4%, evaporating $367 billion in market value.
Tencent earns 200 billion a year, but in one day, it lost more than 360 billion, showing how the gaming industry shakes when the state makes one single move. Some say that just when the gaming industry was experiencing a short-lived resurgence, it was forced into a decline. Is there any way out? The state's intention is good, encouraging people to find value in real life rather than in games. But if real life could bring happiness, who would need games for stress relief? After a tiring day at work, you plan to relax with a game, only to find restrictions on recharges and rewards. Players' source of joy is suddenly taken away.
The announcement even impacted the stock price of South Korean giant Nexon on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, as a large portion of the company's revenue comes from China. Reports suggest many gaming companies are preparing for the worst, with some even planning to cut next year's budget by 2/3, halt recruitment, and prepare for layoffs. Amidst stock market turmoil, a series of smaller Chinese gaming companies announced stock buyback plans, totaling 110 million US dollars. Their reason for the buyback was confidence in the Chinese gaming industry and the need to protect investors. These plans are seen as attempts to reassure investors after the market was rattled by regulatory measures targeting consumer gaming expenditure. However, just 3 days after the announcement, on December 25th, China's National Press and Publication Administration approved hundreds of new game licenses in an unprecedented move. It was the first time a single approval round covered over 100 games involving a broader range of gaming companies. Analysts believe this was the officials' attempt at self-correction to alleviate market perceptions of tightening regulations. But as share prices of multiple gaming companies continue to plunge, investor confidence might be hard to restore.
They only self-reflect after the stock price falls. Just as when a car hits a tree, now they know to turn the wheel. Can a trading halt be turned into a surge? The National Press and Publication Administration released a draft for comments to regulate the online gaming industry, and before anyone could react, Tencent and NetEase's stocks plummeted by 20%, evaporating 500 billion in market value. This sudden move, similar to a backstab, came just after meetings advocating not to harm the economy and to work together to improve it. Suddenly, they almost destroyed an industry. Our efforts should be unified, but just as there's a sign of progress, it's thwarted. When can the economy really recover?
Compared to the non-interference approach towards private enterprises during the era of previous presidents Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao, Xi Jinping's government has repeatedly introduced new regulations tightening control over online games in recent years, causing investors to hesitate. Even now, with the approval of hundreds of new games, the investment atmosphere remains bleak, as only a few games in each release become popular, and mass approvals do not help in unleashing the full potential of the gaming market. In recent years, Beijing has actively combated gaming addiction, linking social issues like rising unemployment and low birth rates to video games. The government has not only frozen game license approvals, but also launched multiple inspections against developers like Tencent, forcing gaming companies to modify content. As early as 2019, the Chinese government limited electronic game playing time for children under 18 to 1.5 hours per day, extended to 3 hours on holidays. In July 2021, Tencent introduced facial recognition to prevent children from playing games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Later that year, authorities further restricted gaming time for minors to 3 hours per week only on weekends and holidays. In 2021, the Chinese government also suspended the approval of new game licenses. From August 2021 to March 2022, the gaming industry in China experienced an 8-month freeze, with no developer receiving new licenses. Continuous repression led to shutdown news from gaming-related companies, with giants like Tencent and NetEase beginning layoffs and shifting focus to overseas markets. In 2022, due to the impact of the pandemic and government crackdowns, China's gaming industry saw a decline in both revenue and user scale. Data shows that out of 17 gaming companies listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, 10 recorded losses, with layoffs reported. 6 of these companies cut over 10% of their workforce, with Linekong Interactive slashing nearly a third of its staff within a year. Excluding Tencent, whose gaming workforce changes are unclear, the remaining 16 Hong Kong-listed gaming companies cut over 1,900 positions, nearly 3 times the number of new hires in the same period. China boasts the world's largest gaming market. According to analysis firm Newzoo, in 2020, China's gaming market revenue reached $44 billion, surpassing the US at $42 billion. Official media statistics indicate that about 62.5% of Chinese minors regularly play online games, with 13% of underage mobile game users playing over 2 hours on weekdays. In the gaming market, Tencent Games and NetEase Games dominate a large share. Several popular Chinese games, such as Honor of Kings, Game for Peace, and Onmyoji, are developed or operated by these two companies. Some experts suggest that the Chinese government's continued strict regulation of the gaming industry is due to the rapid expansion of the gaming sector, both in China and globally. The severe consequences of gaming addiction led the World Health Organization to classify gaming disorder as a new disease category. The negative side effects and impacts of developing games are considered much greater than the economic benefits they bring. Gaming has many downsides, leading to profound social issues, and it's already threatening the economy's operation. The CCP has to face it, so they're implementing controls, said Wang He, a Chinese issues expert. However, the expert also believes that the CCP's rectification of the gaming industry is partly due to ideological issues and so-called national security concerns. The CCP emphasizes political loyalty control over gaming companies. Some enterprises smoothly conduct cross-border mergers and acquisitions because they are willing to align with the government and follow its directives. They produce communist-themed games, like The Long March, which may not be popular but align with government requirements even if they're not profitable. These enterprises receive some policy leniency. If a gaming company earns too much, exceeding the authorities' control, it will definitely be suppressed. Compared to TikTok, which serves as a major external propaganda tool and data collector for the CCP, the online gaming industry lacks similar utility for the CCP. The industry faces repeated crackdowns due to game designs involving violence and ideologically sensitive topics. However, with China's economy currently in a slump and highly reliant on domestic consumption, excessive suppression of the domestic gaming industry may bring economic repercussions. Even well-intentioned attempts to control and prevent addiction among the youth might backfire, potentially leading to widespread public discontent. Last year, China abandoned its stringent zero-COVID policy. The economy, heavily impacted during the pandemic, emerged from its sickbed but failed to rebound as expected, showing continuous signs of fatigue. 3 years of the pandemic saw plummeting birth rates, record-high youth unemployment, and explosions in the real estate market. Further crackdowns on the gaming industry can be expected to trigger an even more significant wave of unemployment. Economists predict that China's economic growth in 2024 will slow from this year's forecasted 5.2% to 4.6%. They believe two main factors affect China's economic growth prospects: the continued slump in the real estate market and the weak revival of Chinese consumerism. This year, consumption downgrade became a hot topic on Chinese social media platforms. Many young people changed their spending habits, reducing luxury and takeout food purchases, opting for cheaper domestic products for all aspects of living, including clothing and transportation. Amidst a bleak outlook, Chinese citizens are increasing their savings. According to data released by the People's Bank of China in July, household bank deposits grew by 11.9 trillion yuan in the first half of the year, the largest increase in a decade. This surge in savings is particularly unusual since China's banks lowered deposit interest rates in early June to encourage consumption and increase investment. The people's worries are not unfounded. On December 15th, data published by China's National Bureau of Statistics showed that the national urban unemployment rate in November was 5%, the lowest since December 2021, and lower than the pre-pandemic level of 5% in the same period in 2019. However, even this figure is somewhat inflated. Youth unemployment in China is on the rise, with an increasing number of undergraduates and postgraduates amidst the country's massive expansion of higher education enrollment. But as the economy falters, the demand for these highly educated individuals is declining. At a press conference, Liu Aihua, a spokesperson for the National Bureau of Statistics, explicitly stated that due to inadequate statistical work, the official release of unemployment data for youths aged 16 to 24 would be suspended. Yet, the unemployed have not disappeared. In June this year, the unemployment rate among urban youth aged 16 to 24 in China hit a record 21.3%, with the unemployment rate for university graduates 1.4 times higher than the overall youth unemployment rate. University graduates represent the main group among unemployed youths. Predictions were made that unemployment rates would continue to rise after the 2023 graduates leave university. This, coupled with the Chinese government's crackdown on industries like the internet, gaming, and education, has caused many companies to announce large-scale layoffs. Combined with strict pandemic control measures and the stagnation of business activities, China's economy has slowed significantly. This situation has intensified competition in the job market, leading to issues like devaluation of academic degrees, low starting salaries for jobs, and prevalent overtime, making it difficult for many young people to find employment.
I thought it was a sunset inside, but these people are like piranhas in the Amazon, biting at every opportunity. I've walked around the job fair, applied to a few places, and it's terrifying. Those big companies at the job fair, just sitting there, not looking up, just playing on their phones. Us university students, with our resumes listing all our project experiences and everything we can think of from university, we don't have any internship experience. Some of us almost added our achievements from Honor of Kings and applying to every position we see.
On the internet, emerging terms such as lying flat, slow employment, and full-time children are proliferating, reflecting how many young people are responding to the scarcity of job opportunities. Full-time children refers to adult children who do not engage in full-time employment but live with their parents, receiving some financial support by accompanying them. Some of these individuals are preparing for graduate school or civil service exams. Some are continuously sending out resumes, while others are completely lying flat. The Chinese economy is languishing, and the outlook is not optimistic. Amid these challenging times, the gaming industry in China is suffering from stringent regulatory policies, leading to a sharp drop in corporate stock prices and significant market value erosion. At the same time, young people face severe employment difficulties, with unemployment rates climbing. These phenomena underscore that the government's policies seem ineffective in addressing fundamental issues, exacerbating an already unstable social structure and employment system. Will China experience a long-term economic stagnation like Japan, enduring a lost decade or even 20 years?